October 10th, 2024, 9 a.m., Longford, Ireland. St. Joseph's School hums with the familiar rhythm of a school morning. Parents pull up, kids spill out of cars, backpacks swinging, voices chattering. Among them is Patrick Stokes, a 28-year-old dad, standing on the sidewalk, likely waving off his own child. It's a scene that feels safe, ordinary, until it isn't. A flatbed truck roars around the corner and skids to a halt, blocking the street. Three men leap out, weapons in hand. One grips a shovel, another clutches a jagged, homemade blade called a screener. A woman sprinted alongside them, phone raised as if recording, while shocked bystanders looked on. Before anyone can react, they charge at Patrick. The shovel swings, the blade flashes, and in the chaos, a screener sinks into Patrick's stomach. Parents gasp, pulling kids behind them as the attackers bolt, leaving Patrick crumpled, blood soaking the pavement. Garda detectives descend on Longford, launching a full investigation. The shocking attack, just yards from a primary school, was immediately linked to an ongoing traveller feud that had plagued Longford for years, rooted in bitter grudges from the 1990s. Who are these families, and what drives them to such violence in broad daylight? Stay tuned as we dig into a twisted tale of revenge, loyalty, and a community on edge. Welcome to Crime Pulse. If you're new here, hit subscribe and join our growing community digging into the UK's most dangerous criminal underworlds. Like, share, and turn on notifications so you never miss a case. This is the story of a town torn apart, a deadly feud among Longford's traveller families that's left blood on the streets. It's not just one fight, but a sprawling clash of loyalties, grudges, and betrayals. To understand the chaos of Patrick Stokes' stabbing, we need to go back to where it all reignited. January 2019. In Longford, Ireland, the Stokes and Keenan families, prominent traveller clans, have long been entangled in the town's violent feuds. 7 separate feuds, involving 14 traveller families, exploded at once. Some pitted rival clans against each other, others split families from within. Old slights and power struggles, simmering for years, fueled the fire. Garda fought back with Operation Shaker, raiding homes and seizing a deadly haul, sawn-off shotguns, machetes, hatchets, hockey sticks. This wasn't just brawling, it was a full-blown turf war. What pushed these families to the edge, and how did their rivalry spiral into a cycle of violence that still grips Longford? The Stokes family, part of the local traveller community, is known for its fierce loyalty and involvement in the town's ongoing feuds. Key figures in this story include Daniel Lawrence, a 31-year-old man, Kate Stokes, his girlfriend, Margaret Stokes, Kate's mother, Chantel Stokes, Kate's 17-year-old sister, and Kevin Stokes Jr., Kate's brother. On April 1st, 2019, a vicious attack erupted in the car park of an Aldi supermarket, leaving Daniel with life-threatening injuries. The violence was rooted in a family dispute over Kate's relationship with Daniel, which had caused friction with her mother and siblings. That day, Margaret confronted Kate and Daniel in the car park, accusing Kate of insulting her father. Tensions boiled over when Margaret slapped Kate. As Daniel stepped in to defend her, Kate's younger sister, Chantel Stokes, jumped in by spraying Daniel in the face with a can of deodorant. As Daniel staggered from the spray, Kevin Stokes Jr., Kate's brother, came sprinting across the car park with a knife. He launched a frenzied knife attack on Daniel, stabbing him repeatedly in the head, stomach, back, and arm. The wounds were horrific. He required over 500 stitches and was lucky to survive. It was an exceptionally savage assault. Though a family dispute rather than a clash with rival clans, this savage attack showed how violence could erupt anywhere in Longford. The aftermath revealed the Stokes' loyalty. Kevin Jr. fled to Northern Ireland to avoid arrest, while Chantel, pressured by her parents, falsely confessed to the stabbing to protect her brother. Margaret backed this lie, a move a judge later called shameful for risking a minor's future. By February 2022, the truth emerged. Kevin Stokes Jr. was sentenced to 3 years and 4 months in prison, plus an extra year from a prior suspended sentence. Chantel, a minor at the time, received community service and a suspended sentence for her lesser role. This incident, while internal to the Stokes family, underscored their capacity for violence and loyalty, setting the stage for broader tensions with other traveller families in Longford. Following the 2019 Aldi stabbing and its legal fallout, which saw Kevin Stokes Jr. imprisoned and Chantel Stokes sentenced for their roles in the attack on Daniel Lawrence, Longford experienced a brief respite from the Stokes family's internal and external conflicts. By late 2020, a fragile calm settled after Garda crackdowns, with 13 individuals pleading guilty to feud-related charges like violent disorder and weapons possession. By early 2021, authorities believed the worst of the violence was under control, but the peace was shaky. Tensions reignited during the 2021 Christmas holidays, when traveler families gathered for celebrations. Accounts vary on the exact trigger, but the consistent story, as heard in court, is the infamous photo refusal. A seemingly minor incident sparked a major rift between the Stokes and Keenan families. At a festive event, a Keenan family member refused to pose for a photo with a Stokes family member, a gesture the Stokes took as a deep insult. Harsh words were exchanged and tempers flared. By New Year's Eve, the fragile Stokes-Keenan alliance had collapsed, with threats escalating. "I'm breaking your windows tonight. I'm scrapping your houses." This small slight reignited the feud, setting the stage for further violence. The first major battle of the renewed feud erupted on January 24, 2022, in Adnaca, a housing estate on Longford's edge. Key figures included Jamie Dinnigan, aligned with the Stokes family, Michael Ward Jr., a Keenan associate, Noel Ward, a younger participant unrelated to Michael, and John Keenan Jr., a Keenan family member. That afternoon, Garda received 23 frantic calls in 20 minutes reporting chaos among up to 30 traveler community members. Residents heard shouting, screams, and gunshots as armed masked men roamed the estate. On Palace Crescent, a group of armed men roamed the estate, some masked and carrying weapons. According to witness statements, at the heart of the fray were Jamie Dinnigan on one side and members of the Keenan family on the other. As tensions peaked, Jamie discharged 2 shotgun blasts, allegedly aiming at the Keenan group. In response, a white Ford Transit van came barreling down the road and rammed straight into Dinnigan. The van, driven by Michael Ward Jr., struck Jamie at an estimated 60 kilometers per hour. Eyewitnesses thought Dinnigan was dead, seeing him lying motionless in the street. When Garda arrived, they found a surreal scene. Jamie Dinnigan was stripped down to his vest and boxers, being tended to by his wife, Teresa, and others. Investigators suspect his outer clothes were removed to hide evidence, like gunshot residue, and discarded clothing was recovered nearby. In a storm drain, investigators found 3 unused shotgun cartridges, 2 spent shells, and a shotgun butt in a nearby storm drain. Miraculously, Jamie suffered only bruises and minor cuts. Garda arrested multiple suspects, charging Jamie with firearms offenses and violent disorder, Michael Ward Jr. with the van attack, and Noel Ward with a fray. The Keenan side, interestingly, largely refused to cooperate. Many statements given by members of the Keenan and Stokes families in the initial investigation were later withdrawn, a common issue in these feuds where witnesses recant under pressure. In one early statement that was given, John Keenan Jr. recounted hearing Dinnigan shout, "You're dead. I am killing you. Ye are leaving this place," just seconds before the van plowed into him. The legal fallout was significant, but not as severe as the violence warranted. By July 2024, at Longford Circuit Court, Jamie Dinnigan and Noel Ward pleaded guilty to a fray, while Michael Ward Jr. admitted to careless driving causing serious harm and traffic offences. More serious charges, like attempted murder, were likely dropped due to evidentiary issues. Jamie received 2 years and 2 months in prison, with 8 months suspended. Noel, deemed less involved, got 19 months, with 5 months suspended. The incident underscored the feud's volatility and the challenges of prosecuting amid reluctant witnesses. After the January 2022 Adnaca brawl intensified the Stokes-Keenan feud, March and April 2022 saw a surge of public confrontations in Longford, involving key figures from the Keenan and Ward families, both tied to the ongoing traveller disputes. On March 16, 2022, a chaotic brawl erupted in the car park of Longford's main shopping centre outside Penny's. Women from rival families clashed, with video footage later posted on Facebook capturing 2 women wrestling on the ground amid shouts of, "Come out of the shopping centre," "No slave," "You were calling me for the guards." By May, 4 women, Margaret Ward, Winnie Ward, Bernadette Keenan, and Nicole Keenan, faced charges of affray and threatening behavior in court. The judge granted them bail with strict conditions, ordering the Keenan women to avoid all contact with the Ward family and their associates. Weeks later, at the end of March 2022, another tense standoff unfolded outside a Topaz service station on Longford's Dublin Road. A viral video showed an SUV and a car blocking traffic as occupants hurled insults, including, "Get out," "Musty Ward is your boss, tell her to come out." No physical violence occurred, but the bold public display of hostility underscored how openly the feud was playing out in Longford streets. These incidents highlighted the escalating tensions and the feud's growing visibility, fueled by social media and public confrontations. As the Stokes-Keenan feud and related traveller disputes escalated through early 2022, Longford's community reeled from the violence. Local voices, including business owner Ruth McGarry Quinn, highlighted the toll. "We're at lunchtime, and normally we'd be hopping, but we're not," Ruth said. "People are shopping in other counties because they don't feel safe." A local taxi driver echoed the fear, recounting a recent incident. "2 weeks ago, in broad daylight, a rock smashed my taxi's side window at 8 p.m. I've lived here 20 years, walked this town for decades, and never had trouble. Now, older people are afraid to come into town." Politicians and residents raised alarms, with one local stating, "Longford is a busy town, but violent crime is a real concern. 99% of people here are good, but we won't be defined by this violence." The community wrote to the Justice Minister and Garda Commissioner, demanding more Garda resources and stricter sentences to restore safety. They pointed to the 2019 Operation Shaker, which used armed Garda patrols to curb crime, as a model for renewed action. Garda emphasized that the violence stemmed from a small group, many of whom were facing court proceedings. Business leaders like Ruth urged authorities to act swiftly to reverse Longford's reputational damage and ensure the town remained a safe, vibrant hub. As Longford's community grappled with the fallout of the 2022 feud escalations, violence peaked on April 5, 2022. A stabbing inside Luigi's fast food takeaway on Main Street in broad daylight. Key figures included Martin McDonough, a customer, Patrick Stokes, a Stokes family member, Jacinta Stokes, his wife, and Peter Vella, the takeaway's owner. At around 3 p.m. on a busy Tuesday, with shoppers and school children filling the town centre, Martin McDonough entered Luigi's to order food. Not long after, Patrick Stokes pulled up outside in a car. Recognizing his target, Patrick Stokes entered Luigi's with one hand in his jacket pocket, gripping a concealed weapon. Right behind him came his wife, Jacinta Stokes, who held up her phone to record video, clearly anticipating a confrontation. There were about 10 to 15 people in the restaurant at that moment, including children. Patrick Stokes walked straight up to McDonough and lunged. He swung with what was later identified as a Stanley knife. McDonough immediately fled behind the counter, desperate to escape. Stokes vaulted over after him in the tight confines of the takeaway counter. McDonough was trapped. The owner of Luigi's, Peter Vella, bravely tried to intervene. Vella suffered a deep cut on his thumb for his troubles, but likely saved McDonough's life. At one point, McDonough, fighting for survival, managed to grapple Stokes into a headlock. Patrick Stokes wriggled free, dropped the knife, and sprinted out of the shop with Jacinta. Martin collapsed from severe blood loss, entering shock. Emergency services stabilized him before transferring him to a Dublin hospital's intensive care unit. Doctors credited Peter's quick actions for saving Martin's life. Garda launched a manhunt, but Patrick and Jacinta Stokes turned themselves in that evening, likely on advice of a solicitor. Patrick was charged with assault, causing serious harm among other offences, and Jacinta was charged as an accessory. The district court judge initially granted Patrick Stokes bail, a decision that drew criticism, but under very strict conditions. He had to stay out of Longford town entirely, obey a curfew, sign in at a Garda station 3 times weekly, and have no contact with witnesses. The Garda had objected, warning the court that this was part of an ongoing violent feud, and witnesses feared intimidation. But Patrick's lawyer argued he had a job offer in Dublin and a child with autism that needed him, and that he denied the feud aspect, so bail was given. Over the next year, the case against Patrick Stokes proceeded. In January 2023, Patrick pleaded guilty in Longford Circuit Court to causing serious harm to Martin McDonough. In May 2023, he was sentenced. The judge was visibly angry, saying the victim's description of being butchered was appropriate. Patrick Stokes received 7.5 years in prison with the final 12 months suspended, effectively 6.5 years to serve. That should have put Patrick away until at least 2028. Shockingly, Patrick was seen in Longford by late 2024, possibly due to an appeal or temporary release, sparking local confusion and anger. Following the April 2022 Luigi's takeaway stabbing, Longford remained on edge through mid-2022 into 2023, with the Stokes-Keenan feud fueling ongoing unrest. Garda ramped up patrols, with armed support units becoming a familiar sight, especially during traveller weddings, funerals, and gatherings where rival factions might clash. Intimidation and vandalism surged, with windows smashed at homes and cars of feud participants. One local described a chilling incident. "I came home to find 10 or 15 of Johnny Keenan's sons and sons-in-law outside my trailer house. My wife was inside with our unwell child. They smashed the front windows, saying, 'The Garda are coming.' I know what this is about, but targeting a home with a sick child is low. I'll break something back, I will." Garda logged dozens of such minor retaliations, often unreported by the press, as both sides engaged in a tit-for-tat campaign of fear. The March 2022 shopping centre brawl case involving Margaret Ward, Winnie Ward, Bernadette Keenan, and Nicole Keenan reached its initial court hearing in May 2023, but it continued to wind through the legal system, reflecting the ongoing challenge of resolving feud-related conflicts. After a tense 2023, marked by vandalism and intimidation in the Stokes-Keenan feud, a violent ambush on October 10, 2024, near St. Joseph's School in Longford shocked the community. Key figures included Patrick Stokes, a Stokes family member previously convicted for the 2022 Luigi's takeaway stabbing; David Joyce, a prominent Keenan ally through marriage; Martin Keenan, a suspected driver; John Keenan, Martin's younger brother; and Winnie Keenan, David's wife. At just after 9 a.m., as parents dropped off children, a flatbed truck screeched to a halt near the school, blocking traffic. 3 men, David Joyce, Martin Keenan, and John Keenan, leapt out, 2 wielding weapons, including a shovel. They targeted Patrick Stokes, standing on the footpath, unleashing a brutal assault. Winnie Keenan, filming the attack on a phone and shouting, accompanied them. The attackers fled moments later. Despite a severe stab wound to the abdomen and blunt trauma, Patrick staggered to a nearby GP clinic. Paramedics stabilized him before airlifting him to Dublin's Mater Hospital, where doctors performed 2 emergency surgeries within 24 hours to save his life amid massive blood loss. Garda swiftly launched coordinated raids across Longford town and surrounding areas, recovering suspected weapons, including a shovel, machetes, and a samurai sword, as well as mobile phones, one likely used to record the ambush. By the weekend, 4 suspects, David Joyce, Martin Keenan, John Keenan, and Winnie Keenan, were arrested and brought before Longford District Court. They faced charges of violent disorder and possession of offensive weapons, with assault causing serious harm charges expected once Patrick's condition stabilized. David Joyce, a key Keenan figure with prior feud-related weapons charges, was remanded to Clover Hill Prison, with his placement later reviewed due to safety concerns. Martin Keenan, suspected of driving the truck, was denied bail after Garda cited his access to vehicles, resources, and prior surveillance for a 2022 weapons incident. The court deemed his risk of reoffending real and substantial. John Keenan, Martin's brother, remained silent in court. With only minor prior public order offences, Garda believed family ties to Martin and the Joyces pulled him deeper into the feud. He was also denied bail. Winnie Keenan, however, secured bail under strict conditions, staying out of Longford and avoiding contact with case-related individuals. After her solicitor argued she didn't physically attack Patrick, only filmed the incident, her phone was seized as evidence. This brazen attack on Patrick Stokes, a known feud participant, underscored the cycle of retaliation driving Longford's ongoing violence and raised questions about his early release from prison. Following the brutal 2024 ambush of Patrick Stokes, social media continued to fuel and complicate the Stokes-Keenan feud, involving key families like the Stokes, Keenans, Joyces, and Wards. Traveller elders, respected figures within the community, and younger relatives played contrasting roles in this dynamic. Social media proved a double-edged sword. Elders from the traveler community posted Facebook videos urging calm and reconciliation, seeking to de-escalate tensions. However, younger relatives undermined these efforts, live-streaming taunts hours later, such as, "He's a big old fanny, that's all he is. You, your sisters, or anyone else can't do nothing about it, you dirty, rotten 80-year-old prostitute." These provocative posts inflamed the feud, amplifying insults and threats in public view. Unverified social media reports in November 2024 hinted at a possible settlement, raising hopes for a truce. Local Garda, while neither confirming nor denying these rumors, acknowledged ongoing dialogue, signaling cautious optimism but no firm resolution. As of early 2025, the Longford feud remains an open wound. The violence that gripped Longford from 2022 to 2024 has eased, likely due to key players being imprisoned or injured. Patrick Stokes continues to recover, while David Joyce, Martin Keenan, and John Keenan remain detained, facing charges for the school ambush. Jamie Dinnigan and Noel Ward are serving time for their roles in earlier violence. This has brought a fragile lull to Longford streets. However, Garda remain vigilant, aware that the feud is an open wound. They fear reprisals, particularly when David Joyce's trial begins, or if any detained suspects secure bail or evade convictions on technicalities, which could reignite hostilities. Thanks for watching today's episode on Crime Pulse. For more turbulent feud and other gripping crime stories, kindly click the subscribe button, like, share, and turn on notifications to stay updated on the UK and Ireland's most intense criminal sagas. Join our community as we uncover the truth behind the chaos.